afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. So I'm Claire. I run Tutum Birthing. I'm a hypnobirthing coach and a birth doula based in and around North London. I'm also a mummy to two little girls, and Reka has very kindly agreed to join me today. And it's really lovely to have Reka. So I met Reka a couple of years ago when I just had Rosie, my second, and I was lucky enough to be able to attend Reka's postnatal exercise classes. Now, Reka's a pre and postnatal exercise specialist, and if you have any questions for her at all, please do ask, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So hi, Reka.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you.
So we've had a couple of questions come in already today, but I thought it would be really nice to begin with for you just to introduce yourself properly and just kind of tell us what you do, and then I can go on with some of the questions that we've had.
Okay, cool. So my name is Reika. I've been in fitness for about 12 years now, and when I had my little boy about 5 years ago, I decided to study further and really specialise in pre and postnatal recovery, pregnancy and pre and postnatal recovery. So I studied further, and this became my passion to help mums. Because myself, obviously, I've been through it, and I know that it's not always easy. So I decided to set up Fitmums Bible to help mums with recovery, which is something different to what you usually see. So I work with mums, look at them as individuals. We take into consideration many factors of the recovery. So exercise obviously is one of them. We look into assessing the mum as in physically. So once you've had your 6 weeks checkup, obviously you're clear to go into exercise. But there are many things that what I have come across to is mums are not really aware of, for example, abdominal separation. So I feel that my duty is to help to educate them on that. So we assess abdominal separation, we see if the mums are ready to exercise, then we take into consideration elevated stress levels, lack of sleep, how that affects the way you feel, as well as nutrition. So nutrition is a massive part of recovery. So we look at the whole picture rather than just, exercise and food separately. So we help mums to feel at their best post-birth.
Yeah, okay. I remember you checked my abdominal separation as well. I think I was around 8 or 9 weeks postpartum.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important because lots of mums, as I said, they don't really know about that. So what I'm talking about separation is we've got the two bellies of the abdominal muscle, which runs from the bottom of the rib cage all the way down to the pelvis. So as the baby grows and you develop a bump, then those muscles separate. And there's a little connective tissue in between the muscles that also stretches. So there's a little gap there. And what it does is makes your core weaker, obviously, but that it needs to happen. It happens to everyone. But then once you've had the baby, our aim is to help the mum to reconnect with these muscles, also work the nervous system to be able to switch these muscles on whenever we need them. So for example, picking your baby up, carrying the car seat, all those situations when you need to be strong in your core, because otherwise you feel all the pressure on your back.
Yeah, of course.
So that's kind of the foundation of the whole postnatal training.
Okay, brilliant. Well, some of the questions that we've had are obviously specifically based around exercise. So let me ask you a couple of these. So one mother messaged in to say she's 4 weeks postpartum and really looking forward to getting back to exercise after her 6-week doctor's check. When would she be able to join your classes?
Okay, so general guideline, 6 weeks post-vaginal birth, once you've had your checkup with your doctor, and 10 to 12 weeks for C-section. But I look at each mum as an individual, as I talked about the separation. So we need to establish the size of the separation, the activation and the function of the stomach and core muscles. So rather than saying a time frame, when can you go back to exercise, it's more down to how functional their core is. Because if you don't have that foundation, then there is no point progressing on to more advanced exercises.
Right, okay.
So it's a general guideline, but if you do decide to come to my class, as you did as well, we start with an abdominal examination.
And so that's just to explain where that would be done. So when you do it at the park, so
So either. So I work with clients on one-to-one basis. So then we can go more into detail with stuff and more into more in depth.
Yeah.
But if you come to the class, you'll be checked. Your muscles will be checked. And also I've got a video explaining. So if you're not unsure or you would like to know more about how to do this, you can obviously message me. Yeah. And I'll send you the video. You can do that yourself as well. So that's the starting point.
Yeah.
So if you come to the class or work with me, then it's kind of pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But then if it was something that you want to do at home yourself, there are factors to reconsider rather than just thinking, I've had my checkup, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So I have had clients who were 5 years postnatal and they were still not exactly ready because they started doing the wrong type of exercises straight after baby, or 6 weeks, 10 weeks after baby. But if you're not doing the right things, you can actually do damage.
More damage.
Yeah, and
Can I ask a question? So, if somebody wasn't ready, is there anything that you can give to them or anything that you could suggest that they could go away with to help their abdominal separation to come together a little bit more?
Yeah. Okay. So we talk about something called deep abdominal breathing, which is basically it's breathing. So it's quite simple. We do that all the time, but this is a conscious breathing. So when we think about the anatomy of the core, our diaphragm, your deep abdominal muscles, your pelvic floor, your internal external obliques, so all the muscles around the stomach area and pelvic floor, they are connected. So if you learn this specific type of breath, which is really simple, but it's the foundation again of the exercise, you're able to activate your core and your pelvic floor with whatever you do. Be a squat, be a lunge, be a press up, be anything like that.
Okay, so that's really good to know.
So again, I've got a video on that as well, because there's something that you can practice at home. If you come to the class, I'll teach by reminding you of this breath throughout.
Yeah.
But this is something that you can practice while feeding, pushing the buggy, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the more you do it, you also train in your nervous system. That connection, obviously, your brain controls your muscles. Yeah. So the more you do it, it becomes second nature. So then again, back to all those bits and pieces that we talked about, then you'll be stronger in positions, picking your baby up. You'll be less prone to injury or pulling muscles, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, that's really helpful. Okay, so another question. I'm getting pain in my shoulders. I feel it in my lower back and in my neck. I have been feeding my little one now for 5 months, and I'm also feeling quite achy. Is there anything that you could recommend?
Yeah, definitely. So shoulder, hip, knee, that kind of pain is very, very common. And then it's all down to the postural changes during pregnancy. Especially the 3rd trimester, when the body shape is really changing, the extra weight. So what happens if we talk about the shoulder, then we kind of like this. There's like a common. So what happens there is your chest here in the front is super tight, pulling your shoulders forward, and that's also because your breasts are a bit heavier, full of milk, and all the everything happens in the front of the body. So you're holding your baby. You putting baby down, changing, everything. So what we need to do is stretch the muscles that are tight. So when you start training, some of my clients who I start working individually, some of the first 2 or 3 sessions sometimes is just about stretching, because you can't optimize the strength training if your muscles are tight and holding you back to be in the correct posture.
Okay.
So what we would do is you would have to do stretches that are opening your chest, like these muscles, and then also like there's a few main muscles in the neck, like the one on the side, the one right at the back. So that's the most common one, like from the bottom of the skull, like base of the skull.
I think I had this with my two as well. Yeah.
And that muscle, it goes all the way down to your mid back. And because you're looking down, you're feeding.
You're in this position, like cranking your neck round, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah.
So you constantly, everything is in the front, looking down, curling the shoulders.
Yeah.
So after a while, that tension will build up, and then it will come up as pain or discomfort. So what we have to do is the areas that are tight, you need to stretch, as in all those neck muscles, the chest, and then you also need to work on strengthening your back. Okay. So the stronger those small muscles in between the shoulder blades, they will help to kind of retract the shoulders. And if you have a better posture, if the shoulders are back, down and kind of back, so that posture is for everyone anyway. Even if you work on a computer, it's kind of quite common. So that would be the same thing. And then you're dropping the shoulders down and back, then you're less likely to be. So it's down to posture.
Yeah.
So that's the same about postnatal training. It's all about releasing the tight muscles and strengthening the weak ones.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I answered that really well. Another question. I'm 8 weeks postpartum and I have very low energy. I feel like I'm craving sugar all the time and also starchy foods. Is there anything that I can do to try and avoid this?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to energy, obviously just with exercising, you will have more energy. But when it comes to nutrition, there are the 2 main principles that we have to go, like 2 main areas that we have to concentrate on. One is balancing our hormones.
Okay.
One is balancing our hormones, and because obviously during pregnancy the hormones are all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's also a massive drop post birth. So we need to balance the hormones, which can be done with food. And also we need to concentrate on tissue healing. So obviously your ligaments, your muscles, they were stretching, or if you had C-section, they've been cut, or even vaginal birth, there is a scar. So when it comes to nutrition postnatally, it plays a massive part, because with some specific foods, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's such a big topic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But again, if I've been running workshops, and then if you do come to a workshop or work with me on one-to-one basis, I specifically look at your food.
The workshops you did actually, so it was so good. The online workshops, I loved that. So exercise, mindfulness, nutrition, and the Facebook group that you created, I found really helpful. So it's really inspirational to see what everyone else was eating. Yeah. And then you would comment and say, that's brilliant because of this reason. Yeah. So I found that really, really helpful when I joined that as well.
Yeah, so, I think that's the feedback I got. I mean, I think with food, obviously is a big topic. But there are specific, if you think about just the last trimester, we transfer vital nutrients to the baby. That's the biggest, growth. So all those nutrients and minerals and vitamins, we can become deficient in. We will be deficient in most of them. So to replace them post-birth is absolutely important, it's key. And again, when you're craving sugar, most of the time is lack of, it can be many things, but it's obviously tiredness. But then lack of, let's say, magnesium, zinc, calcium. So there's a main nutrients that are actually connected with sugar craving, craving bread, that kind of thing. Yeah. And sometimes we just say that, well, that's fine because I'm tired and kind of I can't be arsed with it. But just by eating well and exercising, you can just pick your mood up.
Yeah.
And I think it become quite, like when I talk to moms, they say, oh, I feel tired, but that's kind of normal because I'm a mum.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to acknowledge that it's not
Yeah,
necessarily, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, obviously sleep, it's non-existent most of the time.
Yeah.
But there are many things that we can do to increase our energy. Eating the right foods, exercising, relaxation, self-care.
And it just makes me think actually when when our periods do return after having a baby, that's another kind of fluctuation of hormones, isn't it? So I guess it's even more important then to look after ourselves and just understand which foods are going to
but it's interesting because I have tested on myself before you get your period, and then if you have the right foods like increased protein, increased fats, high foods high in magnesium, or just having an Epsom salt bath, actually make you feel better.
And does it avoid the need for sugar? Because I definitely feel I can feel it in myself, throughout the month, that I don't really eat sugar at a certain point, and then coming up to that, and I go, I'll go in a shop and buy things that I would never buy for the rest of the month.
Yeah, but I think with that is a bit like once a month. Yeah. But then if you think about like for postnatal recovery point, you probably wouldn't just do it once. Yeah, if you just get into the bad habit. Yeah. I think just having chocolate once a month, it's you'd be human. But but from the postnatal recovery point, sugar is quite bad because it slows down the healing. It causes inflammation in the body. So if your tissues and muscles are inflamed, obviously that will be a much slower recovery. It will take them longer. So we try to avoid specific foods that cause inflammation in the body, and encourage eating foods that help the production of collagen, elastin, and all those vitamins that help. Let's say vitamin C, it helps the absorption of protein. So the more protein you absorb, the quicker your muscles are more in a position where they can recover better. Yeah, okay. And they can find more information out just from contacting you obviously directly. Well, that's why I said it's so much to say. Yeah, but it does. Yeah, in a nutshell. Okay. So another question. I was doing pelvic floor exercises throughout my pregnancy, and should I carry on post-birth? Definitely. And if so, how long for? Definitely. So when I talked about that breath and the core and pelvic floor activation, that's what I would recommend to do. So not just pelvic floor, it's the whole lot, just conscious breathing. And I would really just include or explain how to do pelvic floor properly, because I think mums are told 100 times during their pregnancy, and then after the birth, just keep doing your pelvic floor exercises. I remember myself being in the hospital bed with my baby. Just do your pelvic floor exercises. But how? So it's just a few easy techniques we use, or just visualization techniques that are actually quite easy and makes it a bit more easier to understand how to do them. I would definitely say yes. Definitely carry on. Have to. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a couple here, and then I need to check my messages as well, but they keep coming in. So just bear with me a second. It keeps going back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm feeling a bit anxious post-birth. My little one is 4 weeks old, and I am not sleeping well. I enjoyed my hypnobirthing relaxations, and are there any available for postnatal? So yes, this is really important. Yes, there are relaxation downloads that you can use all throughout your pregnancy. There's some really lovely new mama relaxations, one specifically for birth partners. So if you have enjoyed listening to the hypnobirthing relaxations, then we can absolutely send you some for the postnatal recovery and just the postnatal period. So it will help you with sleeping, help you just to feel calmer throughout the day. But then also remember your breathing. So if you've taken hypnobirthing classes, you would have gone through 3 particular breaths,
just try and focus more so on the calm breaths. This is one that calms the nervous system. So try and focus back to make sure that your exhale is longer. And just like Reka was talking about conscious breathing, just be sure to take a little bit of time throughout the day to think, right, you know, I need a bit of space. Maybe baby's asleep, and just focus in on yourself and your breathing. Sometimes just 4 breaths, like conscious breaths, can really help. And then things like, you know, running yourself a nice bath. Think back to how you were trying to prepare for birth. You know, you can take some of those postnatally as well. So, you know, put your candles on, use your diffuser. There's some really lovely scents that you can use. I know that Neil's Yard have a lovely one called Woman's Balance that I have on here all the time. So think about how you can carry on creating that really comfortable, calm atmosphere at home, because that will benefit you and no doubt it will benefit baby as well.
Yeah, I think from a postnatal recovery point, where I mentioned the stress, like elevated stress levels.
Yeah.
And so that really slows down the healing as well. So elevated cortisol slows down all bodily functions.
Okay.
So it's very, very important. That's why when I do my online 30-day plan, the healthy 30 days to healthy body and mind, is to include mindfulness and include anything that helps you to relax.
Yeah.
Because as mums, we just really look after everyone.
Yeah.
We give so much to everyone, but then what happens to you?
Yeah.
And I think self-care and self-love is so important, especially now as mums, and especially now these days. But from a postnatal recovery point, it's also, so every mum should try some form of mindfulness.
Yeah.
Just a breath.
Yeah.
Guided meditation.
Yeah. Getting
over the
out
top.
as well. I think, you know, what we had another question about a new mum was counting on getting out more than obviously we really are at the moment. And she was saying she still hasn't met any of the antenatal group that was online, and have we got any advice for her? Now, I know it's been a bit challenging because a lot of the classes have been online, but we were saying that there are some apps that you can download. So there's one called Mush and there's one called Peanut. So if it's just kind of company that you want to have, so maybe walks in the park, because I think also getting out into nature, fresh air, getting out of the house is really important.
On your own.
Yeah, on your own, on your own, or pushing a sleeping baby in a pram. But just have a look on those apps. What you tend to do is you'll put your location, how old your baby is, and then it's all local, so they'll kind of match you to local women. And sometimes it's about just being a bit bold. And I know that some mothers aren't that comfortable at the moment with going out and meeting, as are obviously, you know, pregnant mothers, as we all have been in the last kind of 6 months. But there are those that really want to get out of the house and have a walk. So go onto Mush, onto Peanut, onto local Facebook groups as well. And just say, sometimes putting out the suggestion that I'm a new mum, I'd love to go out and meet some new mums in the local area and go to the parks. I think you'll be surprised at how many people actually respond.
Yeah, I think it's important because I remember I felt quite lonely.
Yeah.
And that's why I also set the outdoor classes up, because I felt that mums need that social aspect as well.
I made some really good friends at the Broomfield Park.
Yeah, and then you've got a common ground. But then also we do those social events. You know, when we go out for breakfast and then we go for dinner. Yeah. So I think it's quite nice to, you know, to meet like-minded mums.
Yeah, it's such a nice thing to do.
To be part of a group and just
Yeah, and I really loved it as well because it was completely non-judgmental. Like, you were obviously so helpful, and I looked forward to it. It was my time every week, even though she was with me. It was my time. So no, it was great. So I think we've kind of covered most of the questions. Is there anything else that you feel we need to cover?
You want to try?
Let's just see if I can go on to here. It keeps taking me onto the same.
I think that's okay.
Run Tutum Birthing on
Okay, so bear with me a second.
Based in and around North London. I'm also a mummy.
No, I think that's probably all of the questions that we've had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
tricky to
I
find
think, yeah, I mean, yes, obviously what I was talking about, there's obviously more to it. So
Yeah.
just feel free to, you know, to get in touch. I'm going to have hopefully my classes up and running in September
Okay.
in the park, but then I've got online sessions on a Sunday at the moment
Yeah.
via Zoom.
Okay.
So it's kind of pretty similar.
Yeah.
And then personal training
Yeah.
has
Of
been
course.
kind of ongoing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And if anyone's got any questions, they can contact you directly through
yeah,
Messenger
definitely.
after this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been so lovely to chat.
Thank you.
It's been so lovely to have you here. And thanks everyone for joining us. And like we said, if you've got any questions either around pregnancy or postnatal, any questions at all, please just drop either of us a line. And we'll see you soon.